well, welcome to the regular January meeting of the Greencastle School Board. Looks like we have a lot of people interested in school finance tonight, or a lot of popular kids. And I have a guess on which. First thing on the agenda is adjustments to the agenda, Mr. Givney.
Yep, we don't have any adjustments to the agenda this month.
All right. Next item is public comments regarding agenda items. Do we have any? Do we have any comments on agenda items tonight? You pause and it kind of stops. Okay, hearing none. Next item on the agenda is recognitions.
Yep.
Mr. Gibney.
Yep, so we have recognitions. Do we want to start with, oh, let's see here, Ms. Johnson?
Redpath has two that we would like to recognize. This is Boston Mullis. She is last month's Student of the Month. She is nominated by Mrs. Clark, who says that Boston is doing an outstanding job in and out of the classroom this year. She does her best work and always tries her hardest, even when the work is a little difficult. She is a good listener and follows the rules. Boston is an amazing friend to other students. She makes good choices and is a star student. I think Boston would be a great Student of the Month, as she is such a great role model, hard worker, and friend to others. Boston Mullis. This is Mila Hedrick. She is a second grader in Mrs. Miller's room. She was nominated by two staff members. Mrs. Heighthouse shares that Mila is careful to remember to do her homework daily. She has a positive attitude even when things are challenging. Mrs. Miller also nominated Mila by sharing that she is a kind student to all, always has a smile on her face, and gives her best effort on anything she does. So Mila Hedrick.
And not necessarily a student, but we also have another guest from Redpath.
She's like, I gotta watch the kids. Yeah.
What is happening?
Thank you.
She gets it loud. She's like, that's for me.
Mr. McHugh?
She's a sweet girl. Oh my gosh.
This is Bowen O'Hare. Bowen is a first grader in Mrs. Hertenstein's class, and he was selected as our Deer Meadows Student of the Month. And Mrs. Hertenstein wrote, Bowen is a very conscientious student, hardworking student. He loves to learn, is self-motivated. Bowen is always very kind to others. He often asks others how they are doing and looks for ways to be helpful in the classroom. It's been a pleasure to have Bowen's enthusiasm, positivity, and maturity in my class, from Mrs. Hertenstein. Bowen O'Hare.
Mrs. Rhodes or Mrs. Aspen? Yep.
It is.
Hey, Grandpa.
Wow, that's half the room. Wow. He's got a fan club. You did. It's gonna be a crowded room for a shot.
So just stay right here for just a second. So TZ's Student of the Month is Mr. Deacon Curtis. And Deacon is a fourth grader in Mrs. Brading's classroom. And she wrote, Deacon has become a role model in our class and a friend that all his classmates look up to. He consistently receives excellent ratings on our behavior scale. His positive behavior has impacted his academics and elevated his self-confidence to step out of his comfort zone and try new activities and accept new challenges. He has a kind and generous heart, and we are very proud of him. Deacon Curtis.
For Greencastle Middle School, this is Jeremiah Weir, and he was hands down our choice as he was nominated by 4 of the teachers on staff. Comments were, Jeremiah is a very kind student. He has a great attitude in class and always works hard. You might know who this teacher is by their statement. Jeremiah is a student who continually works hard to improve himself. I have seen this firsthand in the classroom, especially in band. He always takes time to prepare, and through his perseverance, succeeds. Also, I think that Jeremiah was out several times with illness, and he always gets caught up. He just seems to be one of those students who knows what he should be doing, and also Jeremiah is very kind and polite in class, so the whole package. So congratulations, Jeremiah. And Greencastle Middle School also has a double recognition tonight, and for the second part, I'd like to introduce Melissa Knipp, our 7th grade English teacher.
Hi. So we have any opportunity at the middle school each year to participate in the Darrell Wyatt Philanthropy Essay Contest. That's a long title. And so I get the pleasure of picking 2 students as finalists. And Logan was one of our finalists this year, and so I just wanted to give him the opportunity to just kind of say a couple words about the philanthropist that he wrote about, and he was awarded some grant money to give to the organization of his choice. If you want to just tell them who you wrote about and what you did with that.
I wrote about my grandfather, David Archer, and the scholarship that I gave the money to is the Deerdorf scholarship that his parents created. So I think it's just really cool to give back to the community that helped to succeed.
Amen.
Yeah, we're very proud of him. And then Cyrus Gernon actually was the overall winner for the whole county. He couldn't be here tonight. He has a wrestling meet tomorrow, so he's at practice tonight. But I just thought it was neat that he was able to also give grant money to an organization of his choice, which is Social Promise. It was created by Sharon Creary, is who he wrote about. And then the middle school was awarded $500 because of that too. So awesome job to Cyrus and Logan. Very proud of them both. So.
Good job, you too. You can do a picture from the backdrop, yeah. We have a backdrop in there. Absolutely. Yep, there you are.
The high school character trait this month was citizenship, and Ben Huff was originally nominated by Lisa Duggan, and he had done a lot of work in the Greencastle Boy Scout Troop 99. He's a senior member of the troop and has been working recently on merit badges with her. He's also looking towards completing his future Eagle Scout project, and he was also nominated for the DAR Good Citizen finalist for Putnam County, and so he is representing the high school in that contest. So the high school would like to recognize Ben Huff.
Okay, that is all for recognitions. Moving on.
A lot of good stuff this month.
Yep.
Yeah. Now we will. Stop. Goodness, get stuck here. Next will be the approval of the consent agenda, which consists of meeting minutes from December 13th, regular board meeting, allowance of claims, financial report, and personnel reports, part 1 and 2, which are on the website and on the door. Mrs. Romer.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
In your finance pack, you're going to see the first payroll in December. That was a special payroll to pay out the teacher appreciation dollars. That was on December 3rd. Total for that payroll was $55,492.99. And then along with that came the payroll taxes and retirement. For that payroll was $14,438.45. And then we had 2 regular payrolls in December. The first one was dated December 10th, 2021, for a total payroll of $431,229.73. And then with that came the accounts payable for retirement and taxes for all employees, $123,699. Second regular payroll was dated December 24th, 2021, for a total payroll of $474,579.57. Accounts payable for retirement and taxes, $135,230.45. Did anyone have any questions about the payrolls in December? No? Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and move on then to the prepays dated 12/1/2021 through 12/31/2021 for a total prepays of $320,826.11. Did anyone have any questions about the prepays for December? No? Okay. We'll go ahead and move on. Next in your packet, you should see an accounts payable dated for one day only for December 29th, 2021. Those are those last-minute accounts payable that you okayed me to go ahead and do at the December 13th meeting. So total for that last-minute accounts payable for 2021 was $91,954.01. And then lastly, as far as the accounts payable, you'll see accounts payable claims dated today, January 24th, 2022. Were there any claims in this packet that anyone had any questions about?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Total accounts payable dated for today, $221,089.89. And then if you're ready to move on to the finance report, we can do that. Next in your package, you're going to see the fund report. This will be a balance in all funds ending 12/31 of 2021. Balance in education, $1,798,750.76. And operations, the end of December 2021, $1,649,634.22. And if you would go to the last page of your fund report, you'll see the balance in all funds is $8,626,478.02. Lastly, in your finance packet, you're going to see the depository statement for all banks. You'll see the balance as of December 31st, 2021 for each bank. You'll then see the less outstanding checks that were outstanding. And then total for all funds and all banks, and you'll have to, I just caught this, at the very bottom of this, it says November 2021. That should say December.
Okay.
I should have proofed that again, but I did not catch that until just now. Okay, total for all banks at the end of December, $8,626,478.02. And you'll see that that matches the ending balance on the fund report.
Okay, great. So, can I get a motion to approve? Any questions for Mrs. Romer? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Or second.
Yo, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is reports. First one being from Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Jennifer Fritz.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you a brief update on our transitional kindergarten program. So if you remember, our transitional program, or we call it TK, was launched fall of 2020. So we now have 18 months of data under our belt. So we're very excited about that. So students, if you recall the process of the criteria students had to meet to be enrolled into that program. So they're screened, all kindergarten students are screened, and then based on their academic, cognitive, emotional maturity, all these different factors, even their birth date, because we have a lot of kids that come in just barely 5. So we take all those factors into account and we select students that would best be a fit for the candidates for this program. They also have to have parent permission because the program is designed for these students to take kindergarten twice. Basically, they're taking the transitional kindergarten to give them the prerequisite skills and then actually do the kindergarten year. So the data has been amazing. So just the raw score assessment data, these kids are making huge gains. So they come in, 20 points on our NWA deficits, where their peers are. And then by the end of the year, they are ready for kindergarten, or they come into kindergarten year at or above their peers. And I think one of the biggest props for the program is what the teachers have to say. So they all, we ask for their kind of narratives. And they are such fans of the TK program because they say that the students that come in are leaders, they're role models, they're confident. And I think that's huge because when you have a kid that comes in struggling and comes in 20 points behind their peer, that usually sets them up for the rest of their educational career. If they're struggling, they internalize that as their self-identity as a learner. A lot of times kids that struggle, become behavior issues. And so in primary, those are really crucial years for setting up your self-identity as a learner. So what we've been able to do through this program for these kids is change that complete trajectory. So now they're entering kindergarten, they're confident, and they're at where they need to be academically or higher than their peers. So we just continue to see this program just work even now that they're in kindergarten and 18 months in. And the need was warranted, so this fall we also launched a TK program at Deer Meadow and seeing very similar results. So we'll continue to track that, but I just wanted to boast about that. Also, give recognition to Mrs. Johnson and Mr. McHugh for the research and the support that they do for that program, how appreciated that is. And I'm just glad that we could kind of be leaders in our county in this because it really is impactful and just, once, it's not a huge change, but it's so important and crucial for those students, and I'm really happy that we have that program. And also, if you're in the primaries or the elementaries, they have new book vending machines, so you can check those out. Those are really cool. They just got installed last week. So kids get to do a little behavior coin and big fancy flashy book machine. It's very cool.
I saw that on the
social media.
Claims, so I thought, so the kids get an award of some
They do as
sort?
part of their behavior program, and so they can put tokens in and select a book. It's just like a pop vending machine or something similar. So
Sounds good.
it's been a lot of fun.
I like that.
Yeah. But we'll keep you updated as the TK program goes on. I just wanted to give you that recognition.
All right, thanks.
Mhm.
That's great. Next is Superintendent's report, Mr. Gibney.
Yeah, so Corey, if you pull that up real quick, board members, you have a packet and, this is included in your packet, but I just wanted to touch briefly on how we ended, the financial year in 2021 and kind of touch on 2022 moving forwards. So obviously, dating back a year and a half, we kind of had some challenges, and we've worked through those challenges. We made some adjustments with our staffing. We made some better estimates with our projected student enrollment when it comes to budgeting, and we just kind of tightened our belts so we could climb out of what was going to become a little bit of a scary situation into a much better situation, but we still have work to do. And so, many of these changes weren't easy on our building administrators, on our staff members, and anytime you look at reducing the amount of positions you have, but we've been able to do some really good things this past year, and so I kind of want to highlight those things. So on that first screen there, it's a revenue tracking sheet that I use so the top line in the yellow, those are the budgeted amounts that we use as our estimates when we prepared the 2021 budget. And you can see that I track it month to month, so looking in the far left, our education funds, our state distribution that we receive each month from the Department of Education, along with miscellaneous revenue. You can see that we projected state distribution amount of roughly 12.4 million, and you can see that we received roughly 7 million. And that was in large part due to the increase in student enrollment this past fall from last spring. So that really helped in boosting that number. The other factor was the legislature also increased funding. And so that is a net positive. You can see, roughly just over $300,000 more than what we expected when we budgeted for 2021. On the far right-hand side, you can see for pension debt. So that's those are the outstanding pension bonds that we're paying off or working towards paying off. We use our local income tax distribution to cover that. Again, you can see what we were projected to receive based on what was budgeted versus actual, and anything in the green is good because that means we collected more than what was expected. Next slide, Corey. And so on this one, very much the same thing for debt service. You can see what we collected from, or what we expected in property taxes, excise tax, commercial vehicle excise tax, financial institution tax, and the local income tax. And you can see that for the most part, everything's to the good. We have one red there, but overall, we collected 69,000 more than what we had anticipated come budget. And that's a good thing, especially during kind of COVID year. You don't really know what you're going to be able to collect. Moving down on the bottom, operations, same thing. We were roughly just over $400,000 short in property taxes, just overall $145,000 short overall for the entire fund. However, when you compare that to previous years, that's not much different than the year previous. So overall, we collected $305,000 more than what we were projected to collect in all of our funds. So overall, very positive on the revenue side. And that's just something that I use to kind of track to make sure where we are, if we need to pivot mid-year or make adjustments in purchasing, staffing, things like that. So I wanted to touch base on the education fund, and just like I showed last year, so on the top, in the top upper left-hand corner, we have total annual revenue dating back to 2015. You can see compared to year 2020, we collected just about $300,000 more in 21 than we did in 20. And then the same thing when you look on the far right-hand side, total expenditures. Total expenditures in 2020 were at 12.428, and in 2021 we were at 11.821. Now, so whereas previous years they were steadily increasing. Beginning last year, we started to slowly decrease. And so the important one is the second row on the left-hand side, annual revenue versus expenditures. In 17, 18, 19, we ended the year in the red, so we spent more than what we received in funding. And in 2020, in the education fund, we ended 59,000 to the good. And this is where it comes into play because it's good, but our expenditures in 2021 actually look less than what they are, and so our annual revenue versus expenditures looks higher than what it is. Because in 2021 it's $956,000. But the thing we have to remember and consider is that we shifted just under $400,000 in expenditures from the education fund to rainy day. So that accounts for roughly a $400,000 drop in expenditures, and so that would show roughly a $400,000 addition to the positive. So, but overall, very positive, ending the year up about $500,000, and that can help us continue to build the education fund back up to where we need it to be so that we have some reserves for lean times. And, you know, that's with obviously giving the nice staff increases to our teachers, to all employee groups, because we also realize that those expenditures don't go away, they're gonna stay with us. So it's putting us on the right track. We've still gotta make good, sound decisions, but definitely is helping with the overall outlook, you know, in the future, as long as enrollment holds true and we keep expenditures where they are. Some other just high level notes. We transferred roughly $1.86 million from the education fund to the operations fund, so that's part of the transfer that we do each month. And one of the things that I do is I also track that to make sure that we stay under the 15%. And so in year 20, we were 14.84. Year 2021, we were 14.63. So we actually transferred less than what we could have. So we're staying under that amount, and that's another obviously positive thing. So overall, good year, and you know, that's helpful in moving forwards as well. So next slide, please. I did the same thing for operations fund, so total annual revenue on the left-hand side, total expenditures on the far right-hand side, revenue versus expenditures. Again, 2019, we ended the year in the red. In 2020, we ended the year roughly $100,000 to the good, and in 2021, roughly $200,000 to the good. So we're able to build up a little bit more of a cash balance and a reserve. And also, we transferred $500,000 to the rainy day fund, because we're going to continue to pay those educational fund salaries out of rainy day in 2022. That's how we budgeted that. And in 2023, we'll look to move things back to the education fund. So overall, very good year, very positive thing. Something that's helped with that is we've had bond money to help pay for repairs and expenditures. Certainly that'll help with our big renovation project as well. Move to the next page, please. So in December, I don't know, December or the end of November, it all seems like a blur now, but we did receive our 1782 notice, or our budget order. And so just for reference sake, I showed you our 20, so on the left-hand side, we have our advertised side, and that's what we use to advertise during budgeting purposes. And on the far right-hand side for 21 and 22, that's what's certified, and that's what's actually used in what we're given. And we know that we always advertise high, we don't quite get what we advertise, but a couple of positives in 2022. Assessed valuation within our taxing district grew by roughly just under $30 million. So that's a positive thing anytime you have growth in that area. And another important consideration, when anytime your assessed valuation grows, then your tax rate can drop as well. But looking at overall budget of roughly $21,215,000, with a levy of roughly $6.4 million, at a tax rate of $1.3111, and so that's just over a 5-cent decrease from year 2021. So if you remember, and specifically if you look at debt service tax rate, I'm not talking about levy, I'm talking about the rate, 58 cents in 22, in 21 it was about 62 cents, and one of the things that we promised our taxpayers with our building project is we were going to keep their debt service tax rate neutral and level, and we weren't going to cause it to increase. So again, another positive thing with that. So those are just some kind of high level updates that I wanted to share with the board. Something I've shared with Mrs. Hamilton and some of the staff is, just like I did last year with our staff, I want to do kind of a state of the finances, so that way our staff members understand, the logic behind the decisions that are made, and also can be reassured that those decisions weren't just made to make them, they're made to help us improve our situation so that we can give staff increases, not just for 1 year, but into the future. So overall, very, very positive, and we're moving the right way. And then, outside of that, we're just monitoring, obviously, the legislative session right now. You know, and we're looking for some of the bad bills. I'm sure that you've been following them. There's some that are concerning. And we're kind of getting to a point where we need to continue to give input and feedback. And, you know, one of the things that we might look at doing is seeing about writing a joint letter, but just reaching out to the legislators to use our voice when we can. That's all I have for this month.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is old business, and there is no old business. So moving on to new business, first item is an approval request for a DECA overnight field trip.
Yeah, so the board doesn't typically approve field trip requests unless they're overnight or out of state. And so this one is overnight with the proper chaperones, and it's a good experience for our kids. And so it's my recommendation that the board approve the DECA overnight field trip.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item is an approval request to cancel outstanding checks 2 years and older.
Yeah, so this is another customary yearly or annual thing that we do. And so Mrs. Romer and Mrs. Williamson have submitted a list of checks that are just that. They're outstanding 2 years or older, and what we would like to do is cancel those checks and return those funds to the appropriate accounts. And so it's my recommendation that the board approve this request.
I think 2 years is long enough to cash a check, so I make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
I won't draw attention that your name was on that
Right,
list too.
yeah, third one down.
I'm kidding.
Next item is an approval request for the temperature controls project.
Yeah, so, I don't know how long the district's been working on this, just exactly, but we've been working on converting our HVAC controls, and temperature sensors from, to Piney's done that work for us to where it's non-proprietary, and we can update and control and hopefully be more energy efficient and just more easily manage our HVAC system. And the last 2 buildings to be converted are Ridpath and Deer Meadow. And it couldn't happen at a better time because we're having a lot of difficulty with the temperature controls at Ridpath. And we want Troy to be able to control those, especially when the weather is cold. Or in the summer when it's really hot. And so we advertised, we had to advertise for this project because it was over the project threshold. And so we advertised, Kramer Companies helped us solicit these bids. And essentially we have 1 bid, and that's from Piney Engineering. And it was for $494,900, which is a lot of money. But I had budgeted $474,000 to be spent out of ESSER to support this project. So we would be using our local dollars or some leftover bond money to the extent of roughly $20,900 to help finish off the project. So overall, positive. The stimulus dollars, that's what that's for, to help support HVAC. Essentially, we have the proposal they're working on. This won't be completed in just like a month or so. It'll take some time because it's a lot of work. And it'll likely take them into September, October, but they're going to start with Ridpath and finish up with Deer Meadow. So it's my recommendation the board approve moving forward with this project as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an approval request for the 2022 appointment to the Greencastle Human Relations Commission.
Yep, so we had to, we lost our appointment, and so we put something in the newspaper. I sent something out to staff to have some interest. But it's my recommendation the board appoint Alyssa Isaacs Bailey as Greencastle's appointment to the Human Relations Commission.
Okay,
Yeah, I will make that motion.
I'll second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an approval request for some donations. One from Greencastle, York Chevrolet Buick GMC to Greencastle High School Athletics in the amount of $1,500. Gary and Linda Huber, from Gary and Linda Huber to Greencastle High School Band Department in the amount of $500. From Putnam County Community Foundation to Greencastle High School in the amount of $1,500. Putnam County Community Foundation to Greencastle Middle School in the amount of $500. And Putnam County Community Foundation to Ridpath Primary in the amount of $1,000. Jack and Shirley Dalton Trust to Tizonicus Intermediate in the amount of $2,500. And the Greencastle Civic League to the 21st CCL after-school program in the amount of $500.
I make a motion that we accept and say thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Second.
Okay, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
Next item is other business. Does anyone have any other business to bring up?
How are we doing on substitutes? I know it's hard.
What are you doing tomorrow? Yeah, so we're doing the best we can, just like with all the positions. We could hire for almost every classification. We're just continuing to push through. We put some additional advertisements in the paper. We're waiving some background check fees. Yeah, the one thing that has been consistent is we have a really great staff, and we've seen a lot of people step up and step in when needed across the board, just to help keep our schools in in-person instruction and open, because we all know that students learn best with face-to-face instruction with the classroom teacher. And so that's our push, and it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been possible without anyone in this room. There's been tears shed, but we continue to push forward and do the best we can. And really, hopefully after we get through these next couple of weeks, we'll start to see some things settle back down a little bit. And just, again, move back to focusing just on what we need to. That's just the teaching and learning in the classroom. Not too much different than, any other community or school district. But we are face-to-face and in-person instruction. That's what's most important.
Okay, next item on the agenda is adjournment. Anyone interested in making a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, everybody.
Well, now we need to switch gears and go have our little meeting of the annual Board of Finance.
Tony.
So transparent.
Do what?
Tony was getting up, she was ready.
So, we'll call this meeting to order. New business is election of officers, which typically we just mirror the officers of the regular board, if that works for everyone.
make a motion that we just mirror the officers of the current board.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item is to review, a review of Greencastle Community School Corporation investments. Mr. Gibney.
Yeah, so again, this meeting is a meeting that we have to have every January, in addition to our regular meeting. And we don't have any true investments, but I did want to report on our interest, that for all of our accounts, in 2021, we earned $8,221.08, of which is receipted back into the education fund. Not back into, which is receipted into the education fund. And so that's just for your information.
I take it you weren't invested in cryptocurrency.
We would have lost a lot of money based on today. Crypto crashed.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is review of DUAB Fiscal Qualitative Indicators.
Yep, so again, this is a law that we have to cover this, and the superintendent has to provide the board with a written report each January. And so the DUAB is the Distressed Unit Appeals Board, and they've developed these fiscal indicators for schools to essentially look at the financial condition of the district. And we've seen in a couple of communities where there has been some intervention by the government, like in Gary, I believe in Muncie as well. And so you don't want to end up on the naughty list. And so I'm just going to give a very brief update of these. And next slide, Corey. Just some profile information, and again, the public can find all of this information. It's generally available, just information about our community profile. Next slide. Just comparison of our average daily membership, so that's our ADM, and obviously that's important because that's what our funding is determined on. And you can see that, really roughly since 15-16, it's been a steady decline, which matches the statewide trend as well. Next slide. We have our funds year to year based on based on the different classifications, and you can see that in basically beginning in 2016 and continuing roughly until 2018, you can see several of our funds decline. And you can see in 2019, those things start to not decline, start to grow back up. And same thing in 2020. Obviously, this is behind, right? Moving on to the next slide. And to go along with that, basically comparing, just like I shared earlier, comparing your revenue versus expenditures. You can see deficit versus surplus. And you can see in 18, below the line, below the chart, that there was a big surplus, or excuse me, a big deficit surplus, and this is for that was for 2018, and that was for those same funds. And then in 2019 and 2020, you can see that we ended in the black as opposed to the red. And this is all funds from that previous thing. Next slide. And then fund balances as percent of expenditures, and this would be for our education fund, our operation fund, and you can see, again, relative to the revenue that we bring in versus expenditures, you can see that the percentages were much higher in those same earlier years. You kind of saw the decline, and then in 19 and 20, you kind of start to see us creep back up, because the goal is to have roughly 10 to 15% in reserve, or 3 months worth of expenditures as a cash balance for each of the funds. So that way you have some time to get through a difficult situation. If you're not collecting all of your property tax settlements, or you might have a significant decrease in enrollment, you can tend to weather the storm. Moving on to the next slide, just revenue by type. So federal dollars that we receive, stimulus dollars that we receive, such as ESSER funds, just state tax revenue. Next slide. is operating referendum revenue, as a percent of total revenue. I have to show you the slide, but we don't have an operating referendum, so that's why it's null there. Moving on to the next slide, a lot of different reports or transparency portals, so to speak, are linked there. You know, our Form 9, InView, any of our audit reports, and then any of our reports in Gateway that are related to budget, debt, things of that nature. And so this is something that we have to provide the board with each January, and we will continue to do that.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is board member superintendent comments. Anyone have any comments, questions?
I guess we don't say it enough, and so much thanks should be to you guys out there, we teachers and the principals and so forth, that are keeping this thing above water. Certainly appreciate it, and all you folks that are sitting in here making the figures come together. Thank you all so much.
Agreed.
I like the trend, we're trending in the correct direction.
In the layman's way, that's the way I would, thank you.
Anyone else? Last item on the agenda is adjournment again. Take it another motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Now, Tony.